razor blade thing. We've been talking about this a while. I know you old subscribers seen it before, and probably some of the new ones have already seen it or knows it, but I use it all the time. It works good. Got a new blade here. I'm just going to drag this the edge of the blade over this little vise right here. I think that's okay. Just drag it over, you know, sideways, and you want to. The idea is to create a burr on the end at the tip of this edge. You know, make it a burr in one direction. Okay. You want to take a couple of pieces. I like to use 3M Scotch tape. I'll show you here just in a second. Just put a piece of 3M tape over the one side of the blade, or actually both sides of it. And make sure you cover all of that edge, the exposed edge. And there's what it looks like. I've left only the center exposed with that little burr. And I'm going to bring the camera over here a little bit closer now, and we'll hone in on this crack, and I'll show you what I've been talking about. I just like to start on the end of one of them. Start on this one in the middle. And just work a little bit at a time. Don't scrape all the way up the entire crack at once. Right there's a really rough place. It's pretty good down into that place right there. Still feel it a little bit, but it's not something you're going to do in just a few seconds. You know what I mean? It's going to take a little bit of time. Now, another tip. When you scrape that crack, instead of coming straight up the crack, okay, you want to angle your blade just a little bit. Instead of coming straight up the crack like that, angle your blade one way or the other. And what that does is that burr you created works a little like a slicing through instead of just being dragged over it. You know what I mean? It cuts better and cleaner if you do that. Just turn it sideways. People that, if you watch people use planes, like hand planes, you see a lot of them. Yeah, I don't have one here, or finger planes even. You see them pushing the finger plane straight. Well, you should push it along, you know, whatever you're planing, but if you turn that plane just sideways a tiny bit, I've seen Ben Crow doing that. You can tell who knows how to use a plane and who doesn't use one so frequently. It makes a huge difference. The plane just cuts so much better. You also want to work both directions when doing this, and watch very carefully not to burn through the finish, because then we would lose the seal that we've been working so hard to get. Yeah, it's starting to feel a lot better now. There's a place right there. It's good to work on, you know, if you run onto one area like that that needs maybe a little more attention, it's good to get that before moving on up the crack to the next place. There we have it, see? And we are fairly good all the way up from the back. A couple little places it's still catchy. And then right there it starts to dig in again. Now you can see how much crap we've got off of this already. That's partially wood and partially glue and other foreign objects. It's found its way in here into the crack. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. You remember before, you could really feel these cracks. I mean, you could feel them big time. Well, not so much now. See, by turning that blade sideways, instead of coming straight down the crack, you can feel it cutting in better. Now look, we're finished with that. See, that's completely slick now. You can't feel it. Like I say, you're still going to be able to see it a little bit. But that's, we're not trying to make the cracks disappear. That would cost more money. All we're doing is just trying to seal the cracks so no more elements from the outside gets under the finish here. You get elements and skin oil and humidification and things get underneath the finish along these cracks, and they only grow and get bigger from there. Okay, you remember what the cracks sounded like when I first started here. Okay, listen to this. No more drag. Now there's a little bit, tiny bit right there. We'll go in both directions. A little bit right here. What we have just done was brought all of that down. It's not completely flat, okay, but we brought it down to the thickness of 3M Scotch tape. Now, I don't know how thick 3M Scotch tape is, but it's not very thick. But we brought it down to the thickness of 3M Scotch tape. Like I say, you're still going to be able to see the cracks, but you're not going to be able to feel them like before. My fingernail would catch on those before and it would actually stop in the crack. Now I can't even feel them at maybe a tiny little bit. But those cracks are sealed now and there's no more elements going to get in there. A couple people asked me why I didn't put cleats on these cracks like I did the Martin guitar, the last guitar I worked on. These are not as severe as that crack it was in that Martin guitar. It was literally coming apart up the seam here where the top was put together. It was actually came apart, had been apart before. This guitar is not so much like that. It is clear through the wood. It's not just a finish, it's through the top. But the braces inside, the X brace and the voicing bars mainly, have done a good job holding those together. It's just cracked. It's not really opened up like the Martin guitar did. So there's the trick. You can bring your rough edges and you know, cracks like that. You remember how it was before? Bring them down to a flat, slick finish without burning through the finish. Yeah, I could take 1200 grit sandpaper and 1500 and 2000 and then a real high grit mesh and really work that down. You wouldn't even be able to feel anything, but you can barely feel it now. And that was what I was after. That was the main thing I was chasing. Hold on. Alright folks, I went ahead and put all of the strings on because I needed to get it up to pitch and get tension on that neck, see how the truss rod's going to react, and just like we figured, it pulled relief into the neck. I tightened it and pulled it back out. So there. Anyways, got it up to pitch. We're going to have to raise the nut action through that third string. Now if I note the first fret, it's fixed. So I got to raise at least the third string. Maybe all of them a little bit. Now there was a shim under this nut and it looked to me like it was this cardboard or paper is what it looked like. I don't like to do that. I don't like to use shims. So since it already had one under there, I might go ahead, and the nut's plastic anyway, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put a shim under the nut or I might just do the baking soda thing, fill the slot with baking soda, put a drop of CA thin viscosity glue on it, let it set up, and then refile out a new slot. Some of those are set down in there pretty far. They don't need to be down in there that far. That's probably what I'll do right there. Because I don't like shims, man. And yeah, it's hot again here. Didn't get the AC service the other day, but I'm going to get it serviced as soon as I finish this job. So, and another thing I wanted to mention, from the 14th fret right here to the end of the fretboard extension, we have the almighty famous, what they call fall away. With a fretboard, you can actually hold the guitar up and look at it across here, and you can actually see it falling away right here where it meets the body. Now there's several reasons that could be doing that. One, the guitar was very dry. I humidified it quite a lot. It needs more. When they dry out, they tend to sink right in this area. The other reason, you remember me talking the other day about that bridge doctor thing in here, putting all kind of stress on this top. You know, when you go jacking around on this top back here, something's got to move elsewhere for that to work. And it did. It moved right here. You know, I think with the lack of humidity and that bridge doctor in there, it's just working together and making fall away here. So I can tell you now, you're probably not going to be able to play the guitar up in here with that problem. And like I said before, I would recommend taking the bridge doctor out. I don't know how much belly it had before. It doesn't have any belly now. I mean, none to speak of. So if you could take the bridge doctor out and it still be flat, that flat, it would almost it would start fixing this problem here itself, I think, and as you humidify it. So I'm going to pause the camera again and decide what I'm going to do about that nut. That string's okay unless you pluck it hard. That one needs a little. The third one's the main. But I checked the nut action, and they all need to come up. So I may just do the shim thing. I don't know. I'll bring you back when I figure out what's going on. Hold on. Remember the little trick I showed you with needle nose pliers? Perfect, man. It got rubber around the handles, protects your instrument, holds the strings out of the way when you can work on that nut. And you don't have to pay StewMac 25 bucks for the string holding piece of shit that they try to sell you for $25. I can use these, and I have a lot of other uses for these too. They come in good for many other things besides this. And I'm $25 richer. So I did go with a shim. I put a shim under here, and I'll tell you why. From the nut to the 14th fret, now you can't see the 14th fret, but from the nut to the 14th fret, everything was fine except first fret action, second fret. That, you know, I measured it too, and I couldn't even get a 16 thousandths feeler's gauge under there. And I'm pretty sure later on down the road, the youngers are going to want me to do the frets on this and do a real setup on it. So, and like I say, the nut's plastic, the saddle's plastic. So I put a plastic shim under the nut. And if he wants me to do a real setup on it later on down the road, you know, maybe he'll want to do away with the nut, knock it out, put a tusk or a bone nut in, tusk or a bone saddle back here as well, and level the frets and all that jazz, and set it up exactly perfectly. But for right now, you just want to get it playable, you know, down at least to the body fret here, 14th fret. And I'm almost absolutely certain we're going to be able to do that and make it play sweet. So we're going to find out here. I just want to show you this. I did glue the nut in this time. I used medium viscosity CA glue. And just like I showed you before, one tiny drop in the center, glue it to the fretboard. And then if you ever need to knock it out, and then, you know, later on, like I say, if you want to knock all that crap out of there and put in a nut that actually fits and fills the requirement, we'll do that. See, I got needle nose pliers, man. They also serve as string holders, save 25 bucks, and many other uses you can get out of this. The string holder, as far as I know, the Stumac sells, is only one use for that, holding strings out of the way while you work on the nut. So I'm going to tune it back up here now and start taking readings, the nut action, relief, and all that crap. It's been a wild few days here at the house that never sleeps. My daughter called me the other evening. I was really shook up tight and said her basement wall had collapsed. Well, holy shit. So I ran up there real quick, and sure enough, big problems, man. Big problems with the basement wall. I've got video of it. If you guys would like to see that, put in the comments below in this video. Yes, I'd like to see the basement wall collapse. It's just a short video. It wasn't only videoed, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 minutes of it. It's not very long, but you should see what a horrendous mess. I mean, can you imagine sitting in your house and 1/4 of the foundation just collapse, fall in on your mud, slop, and all that shit that came in the basement? Anyways, if you want to see the video, put in the comments below. You want to see it, and I'll render it some way and upload it, and you guys can have a look. I'm going to pause the camera now and tune it up to pitch, check the nut action first thing, and maybe I'll bring you back for some of that, and then the relief and all that jazz. Hold on. Well, a whole bunch of fucking shit went wrong, but I got it as close as I can get it. I'll explain to you in a few minutes what all went wrong. You know, I mean, this is far, far, far from a perfect setup. Anyways, I got the nut action finally. You can see there that it goes right under, that's the first 4 strings, and because of the arch in the neck, I got to come over here. But you can see there, it's perfect 18 thousandths on every string. The nut action, we got that. We were successful there. Now check the neck relief. Would like to see 12 thousandths at the 7th, 8th, and 9th frets. Let me find the 12 thousandths here. That bridge doctor, man, you know, I don't know if it's doing any good or doing more harm. Now I'm going to note the 15th fret down here. I normally note the 17th, but that truss rod ends about right here. It doesn't do anything from probably the 13th or 14th fret on down, and that's where we have that fall away bad. Maybe I'll try to show that to you in a minute. So I'm going to note the 15th fret, check the 7th, and there it is, 12 thousandths. It's perfect. 7th, 8th, and 9th. It just goes in there, it doesn't raise the string. So from the nut down to about the 12th fret, maybe the 14th, we're perfect. From the 14th on down, it goes to shit in a hurry. And I blame the bridge doctor for that. And maybe a little humidification would help that, but as long as that thing's in there, I don't think so. I just don't believe you're ever going to be able to get a proper, true setup with it. I had to got nut. Let's back up and take a breath here. I had to shim the nut, okay, and then I filed it down ever so slightly each string to get exactly 18 thousandths on every string, first fret action or nut action. All right. I started removing material from the saddle because it's so high down here. The action is so high. And you're either going to have a little bit of buzzing here and it play like butter, or it's going to be a little bit harder than that to play and be super high down here on the fretboard extension, and that's the way it's set up right now. It plays really easy up here, like butter, down to the 12th fret, 14th fret on down. You got to be Hercules to play it. You know, there's no money to be made on an acoustic like this down here anyway. But anyway, I had to shim the saddle, and like I say, it's a plastic saddle, it's a plastic nut. I put plastic shims under them both, and you know, I normally wouldn't do that, but there's just no way to set this thing up. The bridge doctor inside of here, okay, that thing pulls this back part of the bridge back here down, and it forces the front side of the bridge nearest the sound hole upward, and that's what's fucking us. It's shoving that up, and when I lay a straight edge on there, I even loosened the bridge doctor up, hoping that it would let off a little bit, but it did some, but it's still not enough. I could remove more material. To fix this right, to do it right, you'd have to take that bridge doctor out, and may or may not have to remove more material from the bridge here. That might fix this sink-in problem with humidification and that thing out of there, I don't know. But from the nut to the 14th fret and that thing out, and possibly have to shave a little bit more off, I could make that bitch play like greased lightning. But it plays pretty good now. I'm going to leave it there. Like I say, we got 12 thousandths neck relief, we got 18 thousandths nut action, and that's what I was mainly shooting for. This down here, there's really not a lot I can do about it. I've tried everything. About probably a good 4 hours off of camera since the last cutaway, and this is the only setup that I could get to, you know, halfway even work with us. So let me put some of this shit away. Man, I'm tired. I'll put some of the stuff away and we'll give you a demo. Hold on, I'll show you a little bit more what I'm talking about. Hold on. somebody asked if I would mention or talk about or make a video, I'll just include it on this one, of what I would have done personally. If it was my guitar and I was setting it up, would I have did anything different, or would I have changed anything, or you know, what would I have done differently from the way you watched me set this up? First thing I'd do is take that bridge doctor out. I'd get it out of this guitar. Maybe it worked good in another one, but it doesn't work so good in this one. I would take that out. Probably would move a little bit more material off of the bridge, because it wouldn't take very much with that thing out of there. Then I would level the frets. I would have leveled them. I mean, you know, the owner of this guitar, I know what he gave for it. He told me he got a good deal on it. If I got that deal on this guitar, yeah, I mean, it's a nice guitar, man. You know, I would go ahead and spend a little bit more and have it set up exactly right. Like I say, I would level the frets, dress them, crown them, and all that, polish them, have them like a mirror image, unlike the ones that you get charged for by some people. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. Anyways, I would have them leveled and dressed and just as slick as a mirror, so when you got down here bending strings and stuff, you would just feel like you were on glass, ice skating or whatever. You know what I mean? If this didn't fix it, I think I would take this funky ass bridge off. I don't know what, I don't think that's factory. If it is, it's a defective bridge, I think. So I may even take the bridge off and order, you know, a bridge from Guild for this guitar. But other than that, I would pretty much do everything the same thing. That's what we did on these series of videos. So I hope that helps. I don't remember who asked me to do that. Cheers to you. Normally I don't like beer in cans, but this was free. Got a whole case of it free. Brother-in-law bought me a case of beer for helping him. And it happened to be in cans. I'm not complaining. Anyways, enough bitching and complaining. Thanks, guys. I'll do one more video on this and show you. Put in a strap button. And I'll play around with it a little bit. Maybe I can play you another demo a little better than that. Thanks for watching. Cheers to you all, and peace. I'll see you on the next video. Strap button on this one next. If not a quick clip tip before then. Cheers, peace. Rock on.